Salam alaikum. Buenos dias. Que Sami Akutare Atoito. I pray that power that be, whoever it is, where it's at, or whatever, blesses you guys all. We're here for a reason, and we know that there is something that created this universe and us and everything that's in here. That only that power that be could have been the only one to create these things, not man. Today it's snowing here in Philadelphia. It started snowing. We're in our 33, 35 degrees. It's not snowing too hard, but it's snowing pretty good. Well, it's snowing all right. I have to use the wipers anyway. But anyway, I came here today to speak to you guys a little bit about myself, letting you guys get to know me a little more intimate. And what I'm going to speak about today is things that I'm not happy about. It doesn't make me superior or inferior in any way. I don't want you guys to see me as somebody that's bad or evil or whatever anyway. But these are things that a lot of us from different cultures, different nationalities go through or have went through or will go through something similar of my life story. And I'm only going to give you a short part of it because I could write a book. You understand? Well, to begin with, I was born in Puerto Rico in 1973. At the age of 1 year old, I was taken to New York by my mother. My mother was born in Manhattan, in New York. I am a child of 4. My mom has 3 daughters and myself. I have an elder sister that's older than me. That older sister, my mom had her when she was in her 14, almost 15 years old, at a very young age. My grandmother took my sister from my mom, understanding that she wasn't able to raise a child at that age. My mom was then put in I don't know how to say it in English. My mom was raised Catholic, so she was put in this place where there's, kids stay there. The parents take the kids there, and the nuns raise you, and you go to school there and all that. I don't know exactly the name of the place, but you guys should know what is it called. One of you guys will know. But she was being raised there because that's what they used to do back in the days. When kids were, let's say doing things incorrect or bad, the parents would send you to some type of orphanage, but it's run by Catholics. So so my mom was raised Catholic, but my mom used to escape from those places, and in one of those escapes that she used to do, she met my father, who I don't know who he is. Only she knew, and she's not with us no more. My mom died at the age of 52 years old due to cancer. Plus, she was an HIV patient. You guys will know why and how she became HIV in a minute. Well, for my understanding, my father came from a family that was middle class. And in Puerto Rico in them days, middle class or high class people their parents don't want their kids to be with anybody that's raised from the country, poor. Understand? So they took my father further away and kind of got him not to have any contact with my mom. Somehow, some way, the people moved and they went to another place, or they shipped him somewhere or something. So my mom didn't have contact with him anymore. That's why I don't know him. I know his name, but I never got to meet him. Well, my mom at that age, being the way she was, she started, going out with guys and stuff like that, and smoking marijuana and drinking. And as age and time goes by, she starts experimenting with cocaine. That wasn't really her thing. And then time goes on, she gets older. Then the crack epidemic came out in the 80s. Smoking crack and those little hug Jews using the ashes of the cigarettes as a filter. Smoked crack, got into crack. My mom was a beautiful person, good-hearted person, loving mother. But she was weak when it had to do with men, intimacy with men, spouses. And when things were rough for her, her easy way out was the drugs. So what happens? As time goes on, from using crack, weed, marijuana, cocaine, she experiments, I would say, tries, gets with a person, that's what I heard. I'm not saying that people influenced her, but I'm saying that if you meet people from the world that are into these type of things, then it's not easy for you not to be influenced or want to try something that your spouse does or your friends do, because we know that peer pressure exists and this sort of thing. But anyway, my mom gets into the heroin use. And in them days, she would tell me that, I don't know if you guys ever seen a bag of heroin, what it looks like. It's something so minuscule that you would say, how the heck does that get somebody that high that it's on the ground drooping and, and all out of whack. But in them days, the heroin was very, very potent. So out of something real small, my mom would tell me that 3 adults could get so high off of that they could even overdose if they don't know what they're doing. Nowadays, a bag that big will practically do nothing or really not much to a user, because it's garbage. It's all synthetic. It's all cut up with a whole bunch of pills and things that it shouldn't have. Now you see we have this tragedy going on with the horse tranquilizer and all these other chemical-based systems that don't come from natural resources. Okay, so my mom lived that life as a heroin addict from New York. So let's say from Manhattan, the Bronx. I lived in the Bronx. I lived in Queens. I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in Manhattan. I lived in Puerto Rico. These are all the stages of where I've been at. Okay, through these stages of life, I have had to live in trains, subways, meaning that you out during the day trying to do something to eat, whether it's going into a big department store that sells food and stealing some baby food. Remember, I have 3 sisters, but one still with my grandma because my grandma is raising her. So I have 2 little sisters that I'm the oldest one. So I'm learning the street stuff and how to be an adult at an early age. This stuff is being implemented in me. I'm not only living it, I'm seeing it, and I'm doing it because I have 2 sisters also that I gotta look after. So me as a boy, I already know, watch the men around my sisters, because I don't want my sisters to get molested, like at a young age. And we're talking about 8 years old, already knowing these things, 7, 8, So I'm here and going to Seatown, or before there was a Pathmark or something, stealing baby food for what I could take to my sisters. And they're not babies, they little girls, 4 years old, 6 years old, But this is the easiest thing to steal because it was real small. It was these little Gerber glass jars with this top, and you'll be going. I know you guys know it. I might be saying my age, but that's how it was. I would go late at night, and when I was living in the Bronx, my mom wasn't around. It'll be weeks and weeks and months where we didn't see our mom. So, you know, we will be inside an apartment or somewhere with the doors locked. The super is knocking for the rent money. We hiding, being quiet. Sometimes we had to go down the fire station. The fire. In New York, there's these fire ladders where it has like a small little cage porch, but you could go all the way up and down from the roof and all the way down to the sidewalk. In case of a fire, you drop down the ladder and you could get down from the window. And we used to have to sometimes leave from there and you know, and go down to those ladders, then come late at night, go up to those ladders and go back in the apartment, you know, and stay there. But there was many times where we slept in abandoned cars, in abandoned buildings, in trains. You know, we would have to wait till it was like 9 o'clock at night before we could go on. We could hear the train coming and run and get in the train while one is opening the doors, running in. But sometimes the cops would be around watching, you know, the people that would jump that rail and not pay, you know, so we had to be careful. And we would sleep on the train. I remember it was the A train. The A train in them days would go from the George Washington Bridge, not exactly the bridge, but the last stop of the train is 188th Street, Uptown, Manhattan, New York, Amsterdam. And the last stop was after that, going backwards, was Lefferts Boulevard, which was in Queens. So we will have to get on a train from the Bronx, go a couple of stops to jump onto a train in Brooklyn, and then in Brooklyn jump on the A train, because that's the longest for us that I knew because of experience. That's the only train I knew that had a long route. I didn't know no other. I didn't know how to read real good the map that was on the trains where you could read what train goes to where. I wasn't that proficient yet. I was too young. I was young. So that train would take us from Lefferts Boulevard, which was the last stop in Queens, all the way to Upper Manhattan, 188th and Amsterdam, George Washington Bridge, which was the last stop. And that train will go back and forth, back and forth. And the only person that will wake us up will be if all police officers will come. They would tap you with their club. You can't sleep on the train. Remember, those days, cops didn't. This was a usual thing, something that cops knew in New York, that there was a lot of homeless kids and people living. So they didn't bother us, you know, where's your mom? And if they said, where's your mom? We would say, we on our way to our mom now. You know, we was in our aunt's house and we're going to mom, no matter how young we looked. But this is how it was back then. So, you know, at the age of like, I don't remember exactly what age my elder sister and my grandmother came looking for us, and they picked us up and took us to Puerto Rico to live with our grandma. Our grandma was a very difficult person. My grandma, and I say we wasn't easy either because of the life that we have lived and went through, but she was a difficult person. She was a person that my older sister was her pride and joy, and us three, we were like the three ugly ducklings. You know, we were the one that were treated the hardest, you know, as far as wash the dishes, as far as clean this, as far as wash the clothes, you know, like we were the ones getting like the hard end of the stick. And I didn't understand why. I didn't know. I was like, why are we getting what, I'm deep inside saying this is our grandma. Like we're supposed to be treated like her grandchildren, but my grandma was like that. And to make long story short, when I got older, I told her and I asked her in front of the whole family, in front of everybody, why she treated us that way. And she's told us that nobody ever cared for her. And so I guess she was treated a certain way, and that same way she treated us three. But she didn't treat my older sister like that. My older sister got everything from the new clothes to the best schools to everything, And, my mom continued into being in the drug habit and into heroin. It got so bad that the last vein that she had, because her veins had dried up from so much sticking the needles in and getting calluses and all that she would start sticking herself in her jugular vein. And, it's closer to the brain. So you get high faster, it's quicker. And that caused my mom to always have that vein when she finally got out of it. My mom was about a good 15 years. It got to the point where I'm cutting the story short, but let me keep continuing before we get there. The jugular vein is the vein where, it's circulating most blood. So it hits your brain faster, you get high quick and all that. But it gets black. Your whole vein in your neck looks like a tattoo because you're always shooting stuff through there. So it gets like that because of the drugs. So at some point, we're roaming the streets now in Puerto Rico. My younger sisters and I are roaming the streets because my grandma will get up in the morning, kick us out of the house, close the house down, lock the gate, and she will go work in a military base, cooking food for the military base and washing dishes and stuff like that. Because my grandma was she wasn't a person that finished school. She didn't know how to write or read, but you could find jobs cooking and washing for the military bases and stuff like that. So that's how she would, that's how she was. So imagine us as being young, being kicked out of the house, the gates closed, all the way from 6 o'clock in the morning, let's say 7, all the way to 5 o'clock at night, when the gate is finally open for we could go in and take a shower, use the toilet, maybe get something to eat when she cooks, if she cooks, how we had to take care of ourselves to be able to survive at a young age. And we did pretty good because in Puerto Rico, in those days, there were fruits galore. A lot of people knew us from the town, so we could go in, and they knew the situation. So we would eat in neighbors' houses and stuff like that. Like, there wasn't no need to steal in Puerto Rico. I didn't have to go steal for food or do anything for food or do chores. Sometimes in Puerto Rico, I was sending, I'll do chores to earn it. I would go with people that worked in the country to work with the banana and the plantain trees, how to put manure on them. And and I learned how to do that. I learned how to look for yams and ground potatoes because the old heads would show me in the country. I learned how to grow crabs and what we call hueyes. It's a type of crab that grows, they come out in the land, but I don't know how to say it in English. And I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of how you have to work in life in order to be able to, pay bills, buy food, take care of yourself and others. So as a young child, I learned what work was about. I learned that nothing was given to you for free. The only way for free was if you took it. And if you took it, you had consequences of getting locked up, going to jail, or going into these places where they put kids at, orphanages and stuff like that. And when we got to go into orphanages also, my sisters and I, but it was a real shock because we escaped from it. We all three were in an orphanage, and we was there for about maybe a month, and I escaped with my 2 sisters and hid them with me. I didn't like the way they treated us. We wasn't used to that, But, there's a lot to my life. There's a lot to my story. There's a lot of things that I went through. And like I said, I could write a book. I gave you a little bit of something. My mom got to the point that she met a guy in Puerto Rico that was a runner, was a big drug dealer. And Puerto Ricans know that caseríos are the projects, are the Puerto Rican projects. We call them caseríos. And in projects, drugs are very known in practically any place in America, even in Puerto Rico. That when you live in a project, you live in low income. And that's where, a lot of people from the hood live at. Same thing in Puerto Rico. You live in a project, in a caserío. These are people that can't afford rent. They're getting paid, they're on welfare and all this, and government pays for their living costs, and they pay just a little bit. But these are the known places for drugs in Puerto Rico, the main known places. And they usually run by organizations. Like you would hear like the cartel in Mexico. Well, Puerto Rico, there are cartels, but they're not called that. Puerto Rico is run by organizations like Nieta, like the Latin Kings, like oh man, I've been so long that I don't remember. Los insectos, meaning the insects. The insects meaning like they don't care, they'll rat you out, So, and these places will go to war and all that. So, I grew up studying drugs also, knowing what heroin is, knowing what crack is, knowing what coke is, knowing what weed is, knowing what a pill is, what it does, what's the function, knowing how to look at a person and kind of almost say, oh, this person is on this type of drug, that person is on that. Look at their eyes and their pupils, the dilation, and the way they move. I learned how to find someone's vein with a needle for 50 cents. So anyway, what I'm getting to is that my mom met a big timer, and this big timer lived he had an organization in the projects. So in the projects, there was 2 apartments that my mom and that person had, and they had them as was called shooting galleries, meaning that anyone who was on heroin, they needed to shoot up heroin, didn't have to do it outside in the street. You would pay 50 cents to come in. There was alcohol swabs, candles, matches, tourniquets to put on your arm. What else? And cookers. These little things, these little tops where people would put water in and put the heroin in there or the cocaine. They will heat it up with the candle, and it bubbles and it liquefies everything. And then the cotton swabs they will use, they would take a little piece of cotton swab, put it in front of the needle, and on the tip of the needle, or just throw it inside the cooker. That was kind of like a filter. So when you pull the drug in with the syringe, you suck it in, with the syringe, you didn't bring in any foreign object, any heavy metals or anything, because remember, you're shooting that up through your vein, right in your blood. Or they will use a piece of the fabric of their shirt, then and make a little ball, put it there and use it as a filter. I'm giving you these guys and these like actual things for you guys can understand that not everybody is raised with a silver spoon in their mouth. And the majority of us that live these lives, a lot of us are into, and we are believing people. We are people that have some type of knowledge of something that created us. We understand that there's other powers that be out there. Like, it's so crazy that for what they say, the lords of the low, like we are, like people of, they'll say they're the ghetto people, they're the low, the minorities and all that. But the minorities are the ones that have the most belief. Look at it. Look at black people, the belief, the I say black, but I like to say brown people, African American people, African people, Latino people, no matter which Latino country you come from. Look how we are raised. We are raised the same, no matter what color skin, black, even white people. There's white people that lived in the ghettos and lived the life that's crazy, you know? But, you know, I just wanted to give you a little bit of my story, give you some background, some knowledge. Thank God. Well, I say thank God, but thank that power that be up there. And everything that's with me and has walked with me through this life and through this journey, that I have grown up and chosen to be a man and chosen to change my life and to change the way I learned from the streets, because I could have stood doing the same things that I used to do when I was younger, and I could have chose to maybe, you know, not be here today speaking to you guys. You know, I thought that my longest life expectancy was going to be maybe 25 years old. And I'm 50, going on 51 January 11th. Give you a short synopsis, a short story of my life. I pray that you guys understand and see that the same way you guys have suffered and been through many things, you're not alone. I have had a lot of things in my life happen to me. But I have 5 children, all grown already. The youngest one is 18, and I raised a stepson. He's 32. 32, yes. Cheito. And I never stopped working. From mechanic work to plumbing to construction to deliveries to tow truck working to tractor trailer. I never stopped progressing. I worked as a merchant mariner for 8.5 years, around there. I did truck driving. I got my CDL Class A. Like, I done things to improve my life. And I dropped out of school when I was from 7th grade. Salam alaikum, alaikum salam. I hope you guys understand. Peace.